What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so the Philadelphia 76ers are a disgrace to the NBA. That's not anything new. This was a team that was forecasted by all of us to, at the very least, be contenders in the Eastern Conference. And at very best, this might be the best shot in the Joel Embiid era for this club to go to an NBA Finals. Hell, remember in the Joel Embiid era, they haven't been out of the second round. Well, fuck the second round. They're not going to be in the play-in tournament. They're not going to be in the play-in tournament. They're 21-40. They play the Boston Celtics today at the Fleet Center. So that's going to be 21-41 more than likely. But then again, we're talking about Boston, so you never know. They should be 21-41 at the end of the day, but you know how Boston can be during the regular season. Joel Embiid is done for the year. Paul George has been mentally done for a while and physically. He's more interested in podcasting than, than making shots. And even Tyrese Maxey, without another great player taking some of the pressure off of him on the floor, his efficiency has been down. So this team is done. Dwight Howard used to be a part of this team a couple years ago. And recently, in an interview, he talked about how the Philadelphia 76ers organization reprimanded him for being too physical with Joel Embiid during practice. Too physical. Joel Embiid is a center, ladies and gentlemen. A center. Physicality is part of the game, especially when you're a center. Unbelievable.
While I was there, the one thing that I observed is that during our practices, they did not want it. I would say the practices of this era is different from my era when I first started. You had less injuries back then, but you had harder practices. You had more practices, and we kind of got ourselves in game shape and in a right state of mind by having these tough physical practices. So by the time we got to the game, it was easy work. But if you don't practice, you don't get yourselves accustomed to battle. When you get in the game, you just can't turn it on and off. And when I was there, there's a lot of times where I got reprimanded for being, too physical in practice. You're too physical with Joel. And I'm like, hey, I'm only being physical because he's about to get this in the game.
Man, I know we always poke fun at Dwight Howard for the obvious, man, but Dwight Howard really is one of the last of the breed of big men and players in general that understand that to be ready for the rigors of an NBA season, you have to prepare yourself mentally and physically. And practice is important, not only just for cohesion offensively and, it's important for, for guys to have a rhythm for each other and gelling. But it also, I don't know if there's any scientific studies for this, but it does seem like teams that practice or players that practice and get ready for the upcoming season, they don't get hurt as often. And I really do believe that when you go through, like you can never, ever truly replicate game situations in practice, but the physical bumping and being subjected to that, I'm not talking about beating the hell out of each other to the point where you're injuring, but that physicality is needed because you get used to that. Now, this is the thing. This is what people don't want to tell you. The reason why these players, part of the reason why these players want physicality taken out of the game is because they want to maximize their dollars. They want to have excessively long careers. You know, when I was growing up, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar playing 20 years in the league was amazing. Robert Parrish playing 21 years in the league was amazing. Considering the fact they also went to college. They went to college and played basketball. So they went through a lot of physical, and they're big men, right? They went through a lot of physical wear and tear. You're starting to see guys now who are non-big men playing 20 plus years. Vince Carter, for instance, 22 seasons. LeBron more than likely is going to play his 23rd season next year. We didn't see that before, right? A lot of that has to do with the lack of physicality. These guys are not going through the wear and tear of these players in the past. The great Elvin Hayes played 16 seasons from 1968 to 84. That was amazing back then. They only missed 9 games in 16 years. It's still amazing today. And he was in a position where they went through a lot of physicality, the power forward position. Sometimes he played center. And so the fact that he only missed 9 games is incredible, considering the tremendous pool of talent at the center and power forward position in the 70s and 80s. But Dwight Howard is 100% on the money here, man. Joel Embiid is soft. He's completely soft. And I've also have heard numerous times Dwight Howard critiquing Joel Embiid about being a flopper. Now, that's the thing about Dwight Howard that's interesting here. And I wonder if these players do it subconsciously and they don't know it. Dwight Howard complains, as we all know, about Shaq criticizing him a lot, right? But I've heard Dwight Howard be critical of Joel Embiid a lot. Now, he's not as acid tongue with it, but he criticizes him a lot in a passive-aggressive way. And then, look, since before Shaq did that to Shaq, and Shaq resented it. Dwight Howard resents Shaq's critique. Joel Embiid resents everybody critiquing him. But he does flop. He flops all the time. And he's soft. I've seen this guy complains about calls incessantly throughout the game. Mind you, Joel Embiid, the last few years, when he's been really Joel Embiid, has been averaging 11 to 12 free throw attempts a game. But yet, Shea haters will say he's a free throw merchant, averaging 9 attempts per game, which is not an excessively high figure. Karl Malone has seasons averaging over 10 free throw attempts a game. Allen Iverson has had seasons averaging over 10 free throw attempts. Shaq has had seasons averaging 11, 12 free throw attempts. So, it is what it is. But, yeah, man, Joel Embiid, at this point, I don't think he'll ever win a championship. Not as the guy. He's not a leader. He's not that guy. When you just look at the things that have come out about him, how he's, incessantly late for practices, for game time situations, so as far as like coming to games to play, doesn't seem like he takes the game as seriously as others. Seem like he's always preoccupied with things outside of basketball, to the point where they had to have an emergency team meeting where Max had to get in his face, and Joel Embiid, being a little boy, instead of a grown-ass professional, took offense to it, and being passive-aggressive, did the same thing the very next game. And Dwight Howard, people could say, look, well, Dwight Howard's now on the same level as Joel Embiid. Well, Dwight Howard took a team to the NBA Finals and beat everybody's so-called king to do it. And his team was not all that. Joel Embiid has played with. Come on, man. We know who Joel Embiid has played with over the years, and the guy has been on the second round of playoffs. So, and Dwight Howard was far more accomplished as a player than Joel Embiid. He doesn't have an MVP award, but he's far more accomplished when you look at his statistical achievements and his resume. Far more accomplished. So to me, it's not always about talent. That's what I'm talking about. Like, oh, this guy's talented. Yeah, man, but talent don't take you so far if you don't have the same work ethic and desire as other players do. So that's all I got to say about it. Tell what you guys think.